Well, for the longest time, it looked like the Mumbai innings was going nowhere. Wickets were falling, runs weren't coming, Bangalore were in charge. We were wondering, can they somehow crawl to 120? Can they get 130? Well, one genius had other ideas. Yes, we tend to use it once in a while, but if you can say the sky is the limit, only Suryakumar Yadav can bat the way he bats. 68 of 37. You take that on most days, but you definitely take that on a day when nobody else has contributed. Rohit Sharma looked good right at the top. It seemed years ago, 26 of 15. Ishan Kishan wasn't quite himself. But despite the genius of Harshal Patel at the end and Hasaranga completing his spell, he's taken them to 151 for 6. That looks more than respectable when you consider where they were at one stage. Here on Cricbuzz Live to talk about that genius and so much else that happened over 20 overs, I'm joined by Parthiv Patel and Harsha Bhogle. Harsha, I'll come to you first. Let's not look at the total at the moment, but just celebrate the genius that is Suryakumar Yadav.
I was just thinking, there are so many outstanding Indian batsmen playing this year's IPL. So many playing at different level. Is anybody playing at Sky's level? And I can think of, because I've seen him in the last 2 games, I'm thinking of Shubman Gill, who's got a lot of time in the form he's in, by the way. I must say, in the form at the moment. But I don't see anyone playing at Surya's level, simply because today, how many shots did he play that took your breath away? He's standing and hitting Siraj over cover. He's got a 6 there. He's hitting there and he's there. So, we talk about ABD. He is our 360 player, Surya. And I think he's playing at a different level. So today, you might think that, 70 for 6, the game was over. We've seen 2 players playing at the height of their powers. Suryakumar Yadav and I don't know what it is with these Patels, man.
But we'll come to Harshal in a moment, Parthiv. But to add to what Harsha just said, Shubman Gill was good. But the point is, Shubman Gill was not batting with the entire team having fallen apart around him. What Suryakumar did today was rescue them. And in rescue act, he managed to play that kind of an innings.
Yeah, absolutely. This is not a rescue inning. This is kind of 68 of 37 ball. This is something unbelievable, the way he was batting. And the range which he has shown. He showed range, like Harsha said, he is India's 360 degree. And when a batter like Surya can hit you 6 over fine leg and can hit you over cover, then it becomes very difficult for a bowler to execute their plans, because they know the slightest of error and he's going to go for a 6 or a 4 or wherever Surya wants to hit. And he's someone who's actually making you bowl where he wants to hit. Okay, if he wants to go over cover, he stands in a certain way and goes over cover, or if he wants to hit over fine leg or square leg before a bowl's bowled, he just walks in, sets himself accordingly and force you to bowl where he wants to play. So I think probably to me, I think he's India's best T20 player at the moment.
I just thought
just
of another
some numbers
Harsha.
For you, Gautam.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so just some numbers for you. Just looking on the app, after 14 overs, he's 12 of 13 balls. In the next 6 overs, he makes 56 of 24 balls. And what I like is there wasn't a slog. Sometimes you just slog towards the end. He wasn't slogging. It was all race. It was all style. He's playing at a different level, honestly. And long may it continue. At least let it continue till October, November, but long may it continue.
Yeah, the analogy I was going to give perfectly fits into this, Harsha. I know they used the Titanic reference the other day because the Gujarat Titans and the name to refer to what Tewatia did at the end.
The Titans on the Titanic?
Yes, but I was thinking of the Titanic sinking, and there was the band that was playing when it was sinking. And the fact is they continued to play beautiful music even while that was happening. Suryakumar Yadav not only scored runs, but he scored them in the same style, made the same beautiful music when it appeared that the ship was sinking.
Yeah,
beautiful.
And taking minimal of risk, I think that is something, T20, we always talk about this power hitting. We always talk about this Pollard, Russell and all of them. And here's someone who comes and actually, puts like a mustard on the bread and he goes to 67 or 36 balls.
But I have one question to ask, and I'll ask it of both of you. I was having a chat just after Cricbuzz Combox, looking at the app, trying to see the bowling plans. And when Shabazz came on, we were like, okay, Siraj has had a bad day, so probably he's going to eat into Siraj's 1 or maybe 2 overs. And then Faf goes right back to him. Is that a reflection on the fact that he just wants to try him out at the death, or does he not trust David Willey at all, Harsha?
Could be. Maybe just thinks that if the ball has stopped swinging, that Willie's pace might be much easier. That maybe Siraj has more variations than Willie when the ball isn't swinging. And Siraj tends to go at the end sometimes, maybe because he's got that extra pace, the ball travels with his pace. But maybe that's what he thought. That's my reading. That he thought. And maybe if that's what he thinks, maybe you should bowl Willie 3 or 4 overs up front straight away.
Yeah, exactly. 2 overs for 8, Parthiv. It means that if you think in your mind you're not wanting to bowl him later, then at least a third over banta hai.
I think to me, I think that was a proactive thinking in terms of Faf du Plessis. He gave 2 overs to Willie. He knew that the openers are already batted for 4 overs, so they were going to take chance against Willie. So so he actually thought proactively and got Saranga into his 5th over. And once ball doesn't swing, Willie is not that effective. And to me, I think Siraj's emergence as a bowler or maybe a complete T20 bowler came in last year. If you see his record in last year, the way he bowled in slog overs. So I think he will be that designated slog over bowler. And see, when you are bowling in these difficult conditions, you might going to go for it. So players are going to take you on. That's why it's called the difficult overs or slog overs. So you can have that off day, but I think more often than not, you will see Siraj and Harsha Patel finishing the overs for Bangalore.
I was going for breakfast this morning with Javagal Srinath, and he was talking about this white ball. And the look on his face said, if I had anything to do with it, I would dump all of them into the sea and not give them to a bowler. He said the seam is going in. He said, what does a bowler do? He said, we're all celebrating 4 sixes. Nothing a bowler can do in these conditions with this kind of ball.
And yet, Harsha, if we could do a nice combination between your names, Harsha, Patel, I had to use that. Since you talked about the Patels, I'll talk about Harsha with an L at the end. How good was he amidst all that Sky was doing there?
Fantastic. I mean, even that last over, look, one slipped out, and it was the form that Surya was in that he hit that last ball for 6, but it just slipped out. 1 run in that over. It's incredible. Last year, for some reason, none of us ever gave Harsha Patel the credit that he deserved, even though he got 32 wickets last year. And we said, in the slog overs he got wickets. Yeah, when the tracks are good, Jadeja hit him for 37 in an over. And we never gave him the credit that he deserved. I think he's taken his game, if anything, to a level beyond where he was bowling last year, because he's still getting the 130 plus balls. He's not only taking pace off, but there's lots of bowlers taking pace off. What is it about Harshal that when he takes pace off, in spite of the batsman expecting it, they are unable to dominate? And I think that's what he said in that post-game interview about how he works very hard to keep his arm speed being what it is. But Parthiv will probably know better. Why is it that he's going to bowl a slow ball and yet you're unable to take advantage of it?
I think Harsha Bhai, the main reason is that before this also he was bowling the slow ones, but his main stock balls were not more than 130 or 135. They were somewhere around 125. So the difference wasn't that big in between slower ball and the normal ball. But he has improved. He's got fitter. His normal ball has become faster. So to pick slower ball is getting a bit difficult. And of course the arm speed, which everyone is talking about, that once it stays same, that everyone cannot do it, that Harsha Patel is been able to do it. I think that's why it is a bit difficult to pick him. And because the arm speed is good, the ball's dipping. All of this, all the slow ones, if you look at the Surya's full toss also, it was dipping. The Rohit's got also dipped. So to dip that slower one, you need to have that proper arm speed, proper revolution on the ball, which usually fast bowlers or medium pacer, we don't talk about the revolution of spinners, which he gets while bowling, delivering those slow ones.
Yeah, that wicket. I mean, not near wicket. How often do you see someone chest before wicket? I mean, that nearly happened. He asked for the review. I think he was well entitled to ask for it, and that was another case of umpire's call. Because given not out, it stayed not out. But that was another one. Deceived the guy who was in the kind of form Suryakumar was in at the time.
It's interesting. We saw that today, because just 2 or 3 days ago, on some forward, I was seeing batsmen getting bowled of Yorkers while ducking, because a slow ball left the hand. They didn't realize it was dipping. They thought the ball's it's a beamer. They ducked and were yorked. This was the closest you'd come to that. But again, this was against a quality player. That dip, he missed it completely. Can you imagine? He was a quarter of an inch away from being bowled full toss onto the stump. When do you see that?
Yeah,
That doesn't happen. Yeah, these are the very difficult balls, especially the full toss coming in, because you don't know with which speed it is coming in. It is very difficult to face. And once it's tipping, it does make you feel like make you look like someone who's not actually watching the ball, but it's a skill of bowler that is actually deceiving you.
But while we've looked at all the positives, at the end, we're not sure. On paper, ideally, 151 should not be enough unless the team is just buoyed by Suryakumar's innings. But they'd be disappointed, Harsha, with the way everything went in the middle over there. I mean, Rohit Sharma at least gave them the kind of start. Ishan Kishan will probably need a rethink at some point in time.
I mean, his job was very clearly defined. Ishan Kishan's job. Once again, he scored at a strike rate under 100. The other day also he scored at a strike rate under 100. His role is very clear there, 67 and 93. His role is very clear to take the side off to a start. It's a side that's full of stroke players, but it's got to be led in that front by Ishan Kishan, and he's not doing that. I don't know if it's because he's not very confident. Maybe he's not seeing the ball as well. Maybe he's not in great form. I don't know what it is, but that's his job, and because he's not doing that, that's setting the scene. But there's others too. I mean, you look at the fall of wickets: 50, 60, 62, 62, 62, 12, 5 for 12 in 4 overs. I mean, they couldn't pick Hasaranga. I can understand Brevis didn't pick Hasaranga, Pollard didn't pick Hasaranga. But I mean, even Ramandeep comes in and picks the googly straight away.
Yeah, he certainly did.
Yeah.
Parthiv, one word on Ishana, because I mean, given that you've played a very similar role, what does he do to get out of this?
I think he has to get that mental clot out of his mind. He has to go out there and play positively, not to think about what role Rohit has to do, or a Surya, or whoever else. Everyone's got a role defined. They are going to play their role. Your role is to go out there and use power play. Play confidently. I'm not saying that just go out there and play or hit every ball. I thought today's power play was well read, and they got 49 runs because Rohit got going. It's not compulsory, or it's not necessary that every time you will be the only person who will get going. If Rohit Sharma is going, you can have that positive impact. I think his body language and the way he's moving around is fit. It doesn't look that positive. So that's something which I think he has to think of. Maybe try and show to a bowler that I'm gonna go at you. Here he's not even showing that. The very tentative foot movement. There's a very tentative throwing his bat at the ball. So I think there's lack of positivity in his mind more than anything else.
Yes, he's got to sort that out in his mind and do so very quickly for the sake of Mumbai. For now, it's the bowling attack who are going to have to do something about it. They've got some changes. There is, two of the overseas bowlers in Taimal Mills and Daniel Sams have been left out. In comes one part-timer in Ramandeep. We're not sure how many overs he'll end up bowling, but it's going to be all up to Basil Thampi, Jaydev Unadkat and Murugan Ashwin, Harsha, to give some support to the genius called JB.
Yeah, I mean, you look down that lineup and see where Mumbai Indians started 3 games ago. 3 games ago, there was Tim David, Taimal Mills and Daniel Sams. There's only 7 over, and Jofra Archer is not available to them. So really, at the moment, they're searching. But you're right. I mean, who knows? I have a lot of time for Jaydev Unadkat. I know much like we say with Harsha Patel that he needs certain slowness in the pitch, whatever. But Unadkat is older, more mature, is looking at life differently. So I'd like Unadkat to bowl well up, to see if he can bowl well up front. Basil Thampi's got the pace. He vanishes for too many runs. But if he can bowl well with a new ball up front, pick up a couple of wickets, take a little bit of the load off Bumrah. Remember, whenever Bumrah's bowled really well, he's had a Trent Bolt with him, he's had a Shami with him, he's had a Bhuvi with him. It's not only Bumrah. And here, I get the feeling that this year, there's a little too much on Bumrah, largely because Mills and Sams have not been in form.
Key for you, Parthiv, if Mumbai are to try and dent Bangalore, obviously take wickets, but who?
I think it's going to be 20 for three. That's something which I've always kept. When you're defending 150, you got to put pressure on them. Take 20 for three initially. I think start with Bumrah. I'm saying Bumrah doesn't start in power play. It won't be a bad idea to just throw your main bowler at Faf du Plessis or Anuj Rawat. Get Virat Kohli in with that new ball moving around. He's also not in that great form. Get your best bowlers to bowl those first 6 overs and see from there where the game is going. Because see, you're not going to defend 151 in 20 overs if they play with the kind of batting lineup Bangalore has with David Willey, not batting at 8. If they play out this 20 overs for 6 down or 6 down or something, they're going to chase that up. So I think that's best way to get them is to try and say first 6 overs 20 for 3. That's my target. If I was in that Mumbai dressing room, that's something which I would be pushing for.
Well, I'm sure they've targeted. I'm sure Mumbai fans are saying exactly what we want, with the likes of du Plessis up front, Kohli to come sitting padded up with his helmet on, and of course the new addition of the Big Show, who's already shown a glimpse of his body language with that run out in Glenn Maxwell. Let's not even get to their finishers. These are the top 4 they'll look at, and then if required, the finishers have already done the job for them. That's where things stand. Mumbai desperate to get early wickets. Basil Thampi's bowled the first over. They haven't got away to a flyer yet. So let's see what Jasprit Bumrah can do. We'll be back in the 10th over on Cricbuzz Combox to see if Mumbai has that 20 for 3. And, well, if not, it could be an early finish. That's all we've got from Cricbuzz Live. On behalf of Harsha, Parthiv and myself, we'll see you soon.